Nights of Kvetching Night 8.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our last night. It is night 8 of our 8 nights of kvetching. Also, Merry Christmas to all of you who celebrate, because we are overlapping today. And it's very fitting because our 8th night of kvetching, I feel like, is very Downton Abbey style kvetch about the staff hierarchy and the perpetuation of this almost upstairs, downstairs dichotomy in our institutions. We've, I think, maybe touched on this a little throughout the previous 7 nights. But if you're new here, my name is Jessica, and I am joined by fellow Dead Dreams Club member and Jew Meredith to kind of talk about kvetch, about the things that make us a little bit cranky, that upset us about our field. These are the complaints, the airing of grievances, and that general coming together to discuss the things that kind of piss us off and maybe find some solutions to try to do better in the future. So with that, for our 8th night, let's jump into the hierarchical structures of museum staffing. So Meredith, do you want to take it away?
I do. And I want to use, I guess, a specific, as I sit here, like I want to use sort of a specific example of something that's never really sat well with me, which is the treatment of front of house staff. The people who are the first in line to present your institution, the people who are first in line to interpret your exhibitions and your space, the people who are stepping up and representing your museum. And it is, they are often the lowest paid staff. They are often the most poorly treated staff. They are also people with some of the most specialized training you can possibly think of, because, you know, these are staff who in seconds can go from talking eloquently about an exhibition that's on view to de-escalating somebody who's mad because your museum still has a mask mandate. You know, these are people who know how to put an AED on you, and also to like help assist tours and deal with unruly children. That is so highly specialized. And they are often the people who are the most in danger. Sometimes they are the people whose jobs are the most tenuous. They're the people who were hit the hardest by COVID, and they are not incidental. I mean, they are, I would say, like, they are the people who are unionizing, right? They are the people who are like having to protect themselves because the museum doesn't protect them. And I see these like really, really specifically highly skilled workers, but I also see museums treating it as an entry level, like inroad to museum, rather than something that's really special in itself. And I have actively hired people out of visitor services positions into office positions, and that is also valid, because switching careers within the industry is a valid thing. I know people who have gone from registration to curatorial, from curatorial to education. So like that is no different. However, treating it as the gateway and the gateway only really, I think, does an injustice to a really, really specialized, highly skilled position. And, you know, what's more is they also just even physical access, don't always necessarily have physical access to the offices themselves. People don't actually get to know them. They're not walking around in the same physical space or in the same circles as the sort of office staff or the upstairs staff. And, you know, they are also frequently not given the same resources and benefits. I can only name, and this is not because it's not true, but it's, again, because there's a lack of really knowledge of people outside of visitor services. I can only name kveCH group as the main sort of like and by the way, Vex's group is amazing. So if you are in visitor services, like big shout out to Vex. Like I can only name one professional organization that's really like doing the work of honoring that job. So like for me, that is my rant of like, treat frontline staff and visitor services professions as good jobs, as talented people in and of themselves, because calling them basically the inroads to any sort of museum work really perpetuates the divide between staff who have offices and staff who don't.
Yes. And I think jumping on that even more so to say, as Meredith has said, and I think it's can never be stated enough, this is a highly specialized and highly skilled position to hold. I think a lot of folks who work in the office space cannot do what our front of house staff do, but the front of house staff could jump into office roles much easier. And so recognizing that as a very skilled position, recognizing it as the face of your institution, and probably your most knowledgeable base for who your public is and what they're looking for. So when you're talking about visitor experiences, you're talking about these higher level executive decisions about what we're going to set for exhibition schedules, what we're going to bring in, what loans we're going to look at. Include these people in those conversations, because they are the ones who hear on a daily basis what the thoughts are of your exhibition spaces, what the thoughts are about your institution. And I also think one of the major things that I feel like perpetuates this really upstairs, downstairs dichotomy that was really clear to me as somebody who started out in the museum gift store and kind of moved into museum education tours and docent programs before jumping into the back end, office side, was this idea of opportunities. So we've hit in previous nights when we're talking about COVID, we've talked about the fact that a lot of the front of house staff don't get the same benefits in regards to medical leave when we're talking about these kinds of safety measures and how unfair that is. But I think even in a very different set, things that I've noticed since I got to join kind of the back of house staff is things like being a part of these action groups, being a part of, as Meredith said, professional groups. There's really only one we can think of for visitor experience, but how many of the staff get empowered to join those groups, get sponsorships to go to things like conferences? How many of our front of house staff are presenting at conferences, getting to attend those to learn what's new, getting to do things like presentations and publications, and really getting to be a part of the community in a way that we're seeing, executive level tracks at AAM, but we're not seeing the same thing for front of house staff. And I think those are things when I've worked at institutions, one or two of the frontline managers got to attend those kinds of things, and they learned so much, and they bring such a breadth and diversity to those conversations, but they don't get the same opportunity. They don't get that same sponsorship. It's not considered an essential part of their job in the same sense that a curatorial team is maybe expected to attend those things and to, be a part of that community. And I think that's a huge hierarchy that really impacts us, really makes things difficult. But again, I think it's Dead Dreams Club. So we're talking about solutions. And I think we've already hit on this over the last 7 nights. And so night 8, we're bringing it back up and bringing it back together, that this really needs to start, I think, from all levels of the institution. If you are front of house, if you are back of house, respecting front of house staff as a vocation, as a skill, is extremely important. And I think as often as we can be the advocates for our team members, really pushing to break down the silos in our department and recognize, we are all working at the same institution. We're all working towards the same mission with the same public. Why are we not working together? Like, why are a curatorial team doing one thing while, docents are doing another, or your educational team is doing something else? So really this, it's night 8 of Hanukkah. It's Christmas Day for some of you. Let's all try and be a little bit more together on this. Try and advocate for each other, bring these things together, and really be asking if you're in a meeting talking about what's going to happen next for the museum, be the person who asks, why aren't we including the front of house staff in this conversation? I think, or I know they would have really useful opinions on this. I think that's kind of one of my little solutions for night 8 is to be that person, be that advocate that you really can and should be for your staff. And also learn from those staff members. I think so many back of house staff members lose that skill set. Like we're mainly on computers, we're mainly in databases. I mean, we've talked about it. Meredith and I are very kind of on the tech side of things, but it gives you such a good insight into the user experience of the tech side, if you will. The purposes of why are we doing this kind of work can really be brought forward when you have conversations with the front of house staff, and try and keep that skill set alive for you as well, because it is, again, it's a skill set. It's very specialized, and letting that staff member, those staff members feel empowered that they have that knowledge and they can teach you something and they can really share that with you, I think really helps break down some of those upstairs, downstairs vibes that we're really trying to break down going into the next year ahead.
Yeah, I think also to add to that, if you're thinking really broadly about the institution, embracing justice, you know, and by that I mean when everybody, there's like that infographic that everybody cites when they're trying to teach equity, you know, they're like, okay, so equality is giving everybody $5. Equity is giving this guy $2, this guy $4, and this guy $10, right? To bring them all on the same level. Justice, then the next step is just like abolishing the system where, you know, we're having to give people supplementary things in order to reach, you know, the level where they need to be. So think again about justice in the workplace. Like thinking about the structures and the access to resources that are needed for the staff who are not maybe getting the same resources as senior staff. And, you know, speaking from my only personal experience, curatorial staff, and not all curatorial staff, but, you know, a lot. And, you know, just a reminder that without your visitor services, without your classroom educators, you are just a vault of stuff. There are people activating and bringing it out to the public and talking. And this is not to disparage curatorial work, because you are doing it too, but there are allies for curatorial, there are allies for development, there are allies for executives, there are allies for everybody. And they are there to help bring your vision to life. And everybody is really. So, you know, I think creating a better system of access to resources, access to benefits, and then also thinking about mobility within a visitor experience or visitor services track. What does it look like to really build that out? If you're building the same structures for things like curatorial, you know, where you're like assistant curator, associate curator, you know, is there something to do in visitor engagement? You know, but also note that like people might not want to move up. They just might want to get more experience within that realm. Okay. And also recognize that that's fine too. And there's as much value and honor in staying in that track. So again, it's really just about, for me, rethinking the structures that divide junior staff from senior staff, front of house staff from back of house staff, and think more about the fact that you are all working towards the same goal, which is interpretation and engagement, and that you all have an equally valuable part to play, and make sure that you are showing up for others, because their job literally means that they're showing up for you.
I feel like that is the perfect ending to our 8 nights of kvetching. So thank you everybody for joining us. We're glad you got to learn about our tradition of airing grievances, but finding solutions as well. We hope you all have a great holiday season and continue to engage with us here at Dead Dreams Club.